Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about tools and platforms I use to research niche communities and also trends on the internet. And the reason that this is important is because as a digital creator and entrepreneur, trying to, find products to build for people, I've learned the hard way that building what I think is right and not trying to find a problem is kind of not the way to go about it. And if you're not going to be raising tons of money and you want to bootstrap a product, there's no better place to start than building for a community. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you the tools I use and walk through how I use them. And then I will talk a little bit about some of the workflows that I use when I'm validating communities and trying to synthesize new types of communities out of emergent interests across different groups. And I will also leave a free resource guide link in the description for you to see these tools yourself and also look at the workflows with the different templates that I've made for you. It is a version 1 of my learnings, so I will try to update it as I keep learning, add to it, but for now, that is all I have, so I hope you enjoy it. And so without further ado, let's talk about the different tools and platforms that I use, or at least the main ones that I think are relevant to people trying to learn about this stuff. So the first one is GummySearch, and GummySearch is essentially a tool that lets you analyze different communities in Reddit, and you can make different segmentations of audiences based on subreddits, and you can see a ton of different stuff like trending topics, pain points, solutions, questions, and all of that stuff, which is super valuable to anyone that's trying to look for a problem to solve. The second one is RedditList, and RedditList is, again, another kind of parasite tool on top of Reddit that lets you look at the top, I think it's 50,000 subreddits in the platform. And what it does is it shows you the growth of each subreddit. So it's kind of nice to just kind of see what topics or communities are starting to grow. And then you can go inside of those communities and see what questions are there and how you can potentially solve them and just kind of immerse yourself in the community. Pro tip, just I think there's a toggle to turn off the NSFW subreddits because those do tend to trend pretty highly. I wonder why. And, but on to the next one. The next one is exploding topics, and so this one is just more of like a market research tool that people use to identify trending topics on the internet before they become mainstream. And they have different tiers to this. Some of people use Pro, and I think there's like Master or something else higher. I might be incorrect on the names, but there's several tiers to what you can buy for better tools and research on the platform. I personally just use the free because I think that kind of gets the job done for what I need. It's just more of a cursory glance that I use it for. I haven't really explored it in depth, and I'm not really at the stage of a product yet that I want to build where I might want to actually pay for the subscription. The next one is 4chan, and so 4chan I know is kind of a bit controversial. It's definitely got a lot of bad stuff on those boards, but that being said, it is a kind of birthplace for a lot of internet memes and some interesting trends and communities. Some notable ones would be the My Little Pony fandom for adults. It's all those guys that are really interested in My Little Pony. So maybe you're not interested in making a product for My Little Pony fans, but that is a community, so you can't really knock it for that. The other one would be like Hackers Anonymous came out of there, and it tends to be more trends on like the right side of the political aisle, I'd say, or at least the fringes. But I just like it because it just helps me keep abreast of like all types of trends that are going on the internet, and I try to expose myself to more than just the safe stuff. You kind of need to get like a good sample size across different types of um, trends, so to speak. And the next one is a Twitter extension I use, or an X extension, I should say, that is called Dewey. And so this is like when you're going on Twitter and you're looking for interesting information and you hit the bookmark thing, usually that just goes straight to the void because nobody uses the bookmark sorting on X. I've tried a little bit, but I found Dewey to be better because it helps me search all of the past bookmarks I've ever made. I can create as many folders as I want, and it really just helps me organize my findings into stuff that makes sense for me. And so when I'm going on X to look at certain things, I will just bookmark stuff and then go back later on Dewey. So I don't have to be on the platform and get distracted by all the other tweets. And I can just look at the stuff that I really was interested in at the time. And then the final two tools are also, I would just say, platforms, which are X and Reddit. And so these, again, are not necessarily tools, but they are very useful and can be used as tools if you come in with the right mindset. So X is really like the real time collective consciousness of what's going on in the world. A lot of the times, trends that show up on X will be in the news maybe like 2 weeks later. So it's really like a good place to kind of just keep a finger on the pulse of like what's going on. And then for Reddit, it's a community platform, and I personally use it for communities I'm interested in, just for my personal interests, but also to explore other interesting communities that I could potentially make a product for. So those are kind of like the high-level overviews of the 6 tools that I thought were most relevant and useful out of all the ones that I've tried. And now I will get into the walkthroughs for each of these, and then I will talk a little bit about the other kind of workflows and frameworks I use for validating communities and all that good stuff. All right, guys. The first one I'm going to do is GummySearch. So I could probably just delete this one and just restart just to show you the whole workflow because it only lets you go up to 5, and I misspelled it anyways, so might as well just start over. So I will just delete this and I will show you how y'all can use GummySearch, and that's GummySearch.com. So like I said, this is like a layer on top of Reddit, so I will go to make new audience, and they already have curated ones that you could do as well. Like if you don't have any ideas and you're just kind of looking around for a type of audience segmentation, like video editors, stock investors, yada yada. But I'm personally interested in like the psychedelic space, so I wanted to see if there's any opportunities there because I want to build stuff that kind of aligns with my personal interests and values. So I am going to type magic mushrooms, like just typing words, like keywords that come to mind when I think of this type of community that I'm looking for. And so there's a couple things that you can see here. We see it shows like the size of the community and the activity. So I'm looking for kind of like a size that's not super big, because if it's so big, it's kind of hard to to stand out and there's more stuff to cover. But like this right here, it's 86,000 members, high activity, and it's also pretty specific. Like it's just magic mushrooms. So maybe there's like a very specific problem that we can solve for magic mushrooms. So maybe we could also try LSD. Uh, hmm. I know microdosing, but see, it's not really active. Magic mushrooms UK. Let's try. Let's just go with LSD. I know it's a big one, but I want to kind of develop a larger audience of people to look for as well. Okay, I can like never spell that word. It's all right. We have autocorrect, whatever. So right here, psilocybin mushrooms. See, it's not too big, like 125,000 members. Obviously, like it's at your own discretion. Like if you know what you are looking for, then by all means. We can also try psilocybin because that's like the actual like molecule. Psychedelic therapy. It's pretty small. And psychedelic society, psychedelic studies. So people interested in psychedelics, pretty much. Yeah. Well. Okay. Let's just do that. Create audience, 1,000,000 members. Let's go. And what we can do here is we can see the subreddits that are here, and it will also show you the breakdown of the demographics, sort of. So like the age of the the average age, the reach, the size, the activity, and the growth compared to like a normal subreddit. So that's pretty good to know. And then themes, this is kind of where I start really, is I just go here. And here I don't have the paid plan for this. Again, I don't think it's necessary unless you really know what you're trying to look for. But it does kind of break down some stuff, some AI based themes. So I'm assuming they're using some like large language model pipeline in the background to just pull all this information and kind of glean insights. So we have advice requests. So I usually start my top two to go to are like pain and anger and solution requests, because that's like literally, oh, like, hey, I have this problem. Um, so let's see. Let's go to pain and anger, and we can take a look and see. So let's see. Pain and anger about while using magic mushrooms revolve around various experience concerns. Users discuss glitches in electronics during their trips, while others express fear and confusion about the effects of the drug, and some individuals express love. Yada yada. Uh, Overall, the conversation reflect a range of emotions. Okay, maybe it's a little bit different because it's magic mushrooms, but let's say like, oh, like what is this music glitch thing? Like, are like a lot of people talking about that? Is this like a problem with like their music player not working? Maybe you come up with a music player that never glitches. And again, this is just like to really, you just kind of trying to glean ideas right now, just what kind of sticks out. Um, see, discussing availability. Favorite movies and foods to enjoy while tripping, trip killers that are not benzodiazepines, tips for solo trips, shorter LSD trips, storage methods for tabs. So I don't know, off the top of my head, like probably some you can make like an informational product, like maybe a newsletter around like trip sitter, and it's just like here are the top 5 movies every week to watch while you're tripping, or like here's 5 movies you could watch, three music playlists you can listen to, and one extra cool tip that we picked up from the psychedelic community. And then over time, as you grow the newsletter, you can get sponsors and all that stuff. So that's an idea, informational product. That's probably what would do best here. Um, Unless you want to like make like an app for like trip sitting, like a little chat bot where they're like, oh my god, I'm tripping balls. So I will take this and then I will come back to like notes I'm just taking on psychedelics. And this is kind of part of like the resource guide. I have like a template for people to use. And in here, I already like put it in here, but this note item template is pretty much kind of like how it works. Just like every time you click that, it's going to give you that kind of note capture. So like, why did I find this interesting? What ideas did this spark in my head, and relate this to any other findings. So like, find it interesting, like people looking for recs on media consumption during psychedelic experiences, and then ideas, newsletter that recommends best media during experiences, movies, music, etc. And so yeah, that's just like the quick capture type stuff. Does this relate to any other findings? I haven't found anything else, but then what I'll do is I'll also tag it as Reddit. It's probably a question, and I will take. There is really no link to this, unless there's like a specific thing which you can dive into by like clicking these, and it'll take you to the subreddit. But that is kind of like overall like what I do. I just come on here, I look at this main page, and I kind of use this summary, and then if I really find it interesting, then I'll click in on the subreddits and check it out. And yeah, that is pretty much it for the GummySearch. This is like a cursory glance of how I use it, and then how I kind of like keep track of what I find, and then I can always come back to it later. So that is GummySearch. If you find it helpful, let me know in the comments, and I will get on to the next couple tools. I'm probably not going to show, probably won't do 4chan just because you'll see it in the guide if you use the guide, but it's not like you use it a ton. So I'm not going to really use 4chan in this, like in these walkthroughs, but I'll show you a couple of the other ones too. So let's get into it. All right, now on to RedditList. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a way you can just toggle to Safe for Work Reddit if it loads. And I just prefer that because I'm not really interested in making products for people interested in the porn industry or anything that's weird. I just want to kind of keep it PG for what I'm trying to do. So right here, you see recent activity and their subscribers and 24-hour growth. I usually just look at the 24-hour growth because it lends itself to sometimes there being a surge in a community that may not always be like growing, but it just gives you, again, like a new kind of surface area to explore. So if I'm like going down this and let's see, uh, anti meme. And let's see. Okay. Posting funny anti meme. What is an anti meme? It uses an existing meme template and looks like a meme. It contains either an anti joke or is uncaptioned, but is intended to be funny. But is not intended to be funny. Still makes you laugh. Okay. So I like this concept a lot, honestly. Um, let's explore a little bit. So let's see what do we look at first. First, let's look at the flare. And then we can also just it's good to check the rules of every community you go into because you do not want to upset the moderators. You don't want to be a nuisance. You're not trying to come in here and be like, hey, everybody, I'm trying to make a product for you. Can I like ask you a shit ton of questions? It's like, no, it's kind of stupid. You need to actually come in and be a part of the community, and that's what you should be doing. Um, let's see the rules, anti meme. So like, if I were to do this, like if I were exploring this more, I would I'll join it, and then I will post some anti memes. I'll start commenting and asking people where they found stuff, and just kind of you really need to like take your mind out of the business mode a bit for this and really just kind of like be a community member, which I know that sounds cliche or stupid or whatever you want to call it, but that truly is like the way. Um, because then once you're immersed in it, you kind of pick up on things that people staying on the outside wouldn't really pick up on. So no reposts. Um, okay. So let's look at these. Teacher, okay, kids, are we going to practice coloring today? Oh, okay, kid named Dylan. Okay. Yes, thanks. Caption. Okay, so what stands out to me here? It's just the concept really caught my eye, like anti-meme. That's such a, it's a sticky name, and the concept is also very intriguing, like taking something that's meant to be funny, not making it funny, but they actually turn out to still kind of be funny. So products around this, I don't know. You could like even think of like you can make a magazine of anti memes that people buy. Um, Again, a newsletter of anti memes. Like here's your anti memes of the week, and then you can get emails that way. Maybe an AI generator that generates templates for anti memes. So that's literally the way I would use this here. And then to come in here, I like to look at the top posts just to see like what is from like the last year, just to kind of really get a glimpse. So there's nothing going on here. Oh my God, my best friend and my best friend's wife, and my best friend and my wife's bed. Okay. Um, love playing video games, bro. Get on the game. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's play. See, so this is like so funny. You could do so much with this, like coffee mugs, Redbubble. Just like this is media that kind of has that counterculture vibe. Like they're not trying to be funny, anti joke kind of thing. And so if you go in the comments as well, just to kind of see what people are saying. Always shave. All right. And that is actually a good point. That guy right there was saying like, wish my friend was actually like this, but he's not. So like, where do these people get these anti jokes from? Like, what kind of goes through their head? Are these like projections of potential problems. Maybe, I don't know. There's just something else to think about. But this is how I use RedditList. Um, yeah, just go and find the 24-hour growth of things and seeing what is kind of creeping up there. Because that it'll change usually like on the day or like by the week it'll change, so you always get some fresh new communities to look at. And so I try to check this like once a week, minimum, just to look at like what is going on, either for my own curiosity or I actually have some key types of communities I'm looking for in my head. So that is the Reddit list tool. If you liked it, go try it out. It's free. And yeah, with that, let's get on to the next one. All right, next one is exploding topics. So discover trends 12 months before they take off. Super, super good stuff. It's just kind of like working you up to the buy section where it shows you like all the great advantages of getting pro. Like it's like who uses the platform. It's like investors, entrepreneurs, yada yada. And it's like $39 a month. I'm not doing that right now because I have no need. Uh, if you do, go for it. Let me know how it works. I might get the 14-day trial, $1, when the mood strikes me. But till then, I'll just show you the basic way on how I use this. So this is, if you are a free user, this is what you'll see. And so you don't have access to this stuff. That's all for pro. But I personally find like 2 years is kind of a good one I like to look at, because that means like it's a trend that's kicked up and maybe it already has like a base of communities that you can find. So it's not like something so out there that it's like you're solving a problem too early, because like being too early is being the same as being wrong. So that's just my take. And then I just look for the categories that are given to me. So again, it's very cursory, more for me to kind of get a sense of like broader areas that I could look in for trends. So let's say like for AI, on 2 year trends, Luma. So let's see, Luma artificial intelligence lets you capture 3D objects. AI art, Wizard AI, so online video editing tool. Um, Suno AI, shout out Suno AI. That is a great one. So I guess like this is a good time to think about like how are we looking at this? Are we looking at these as like components of like one in itself, or are we looking at it from a different like boundary that we draw? So like when I see all these, I don't see just like single things, but I see like content creation and like you see like there's video editing, platform for VTubers, there's music, there's platforms a lot. Yeah, another AI videos, a lot of like AI video stuff. So content creation with AI applied to it is like maybe the broader trend that you could glean out of this. And so that's kind of like the way I try to think about it. Like take these separate trends and then just take a larger step back and see what is the through line between a good amount of these separate components. Um, and yeah, that's really much it. That's like literally all I use this for. I'll just come on. Sometimes it's fun to just maybe go and look at like e-commerce. I know, was it like CBD gummies was popping off a while ago. Um, and yeah, that's really how I would use it to begin with, though. Just find a broad area that you like or you think you might have some advantage in, and then just look at the like abstract the trend out one or like extrapolate a little bit. Is kind of like how I would do it. So that's it for this. This is a pretty like short and sweet one because that's all I use it for. But I just wanted to make you guys aware of it, show you at least how I am using it right now, and yeah, with that, let's go to the next one. All right, y'all. Now we're going to talk about Dewey. That is getdewey.co, and I'll kind of just talk about Twitter at the same time because it's kind of goes hand in hand because it's an extension for Twitter or X, whatever you still call it. And essentially, it is a very rich UI that lets you organize your bookmarks. So when you're on X, you don't need to, you don't need to like worry about organizing folders or all that stuff. And so I have it open here. just like stuff that I've saved from today. I am still like this is actually a pretty new tool that I've come across, so I still am trying to organize it as much as I can and coming back and moving stuff around. But let me just show you an example first, and then I will come back to this, but I'll show you kind of how it works on X. So this is actually a good one right here. So Matt McGarry he's like the newsletter growth guy, and he has a question about okay, Chamath's free newsletter stats look like. He shares the articles and tweets that he read that week, and then he's saying, "I bet that is a 50% open rate." And like that actually like maybe it doesn't sound that interesting, but I actually find that pretty interesting because it seems like, and I'm gonna write it down. Seems like people like seeing what their, I guess like heroes like to read. I'll say heroes, but you know what I mean, like the people that they look up to. And so that'll add context to the bookmark in Dewey. And so if I come back here, I can just like refresh. Okay, so I will say move to, and I'll just put interesting finds right now. But that one I liked because it was like, oh, like people like to see what other people are consuming. So it's like that curation process, and so like makes you think like, oh, curating through a newsletter is like a really good way to grow your newsletter if you already have an audience, of course, not if you're a rando, um, but just something interesting to take note of. And so here you can add folders. So I have like, and then you can always come back to them. And like right here, like I thought this was an interesting find. You know, like that some of the tweets that like get bookmarked that don't really go viral make like a coffee table book for those tweets for people. And then just some other stuff you can do, or like the stuff I really like to do is like, let's see, we can do. I know I've saved some from him, so I'm just gonna do it. Greg Eisenberg, and then I'll search it, and then it's like okay, now I can go back and see all the stuff that I've saved from Greg Eisenberg, and I can go back and kind of see if I thought anything was actually of interest or not. And that is Dewey. You get the Chrome extension, you use it on X, and then you just save it to your bookmarks, and then it will come up with the little pop-up. You can add context if you like, and then you go back and you can organize it later. So that is Dewey. So I'll probably end it there for the tools because the only other one was Reddit, and we kind of talked about Reddit a little bit, and I'm actually going to talk a bit more about the validation of a community through Reddit anyways, so I think it's fine if we just move on to that next. So let's get into that. Okay, guys, so now I'm just going to give a brief overview of some of the frameworks and walkthroughs that are kind of in the guide, but also some stuff you can do for validating a community. So I'm just going to start with magic mushrooms because we were talking about it earlier, so let's just pick a subreddit and get into it. And I have this sort of like layout that you can use for kind of finding a community. And what I'm going to do, because just for time reasons for the video and also just because it helps you get some stuff started, since I don't know some of this stuff, we can use ChatGPT to help. Like for example, like right here, like the demographic data and the psychological profile and the interests, maybe we can use ChatGPT to help us come up with some suggested stuff, and we can put that down and we can come back to it later as we explore. So first I'm going to say, I am exploring a community on Reddit for psychedelic mushrooms. Please help me fill out this community validation framework guide with potential answers to the questions we are asking. And so just copy and paste from Notion, and we'll see what it spits out. So let's see. Okay, demographic data, primarily young adults to middle age, 20 to 40 years old. Makes sense. Mixed Professional, diverse, including students, professionals, hobbyists, in botany, pharmacology. Okay. Varied but cultural backgrounds, geolocation, are indigenous or culturally significant, yada yada. And boom, so now we kind of have like a draft of what the community validation like framework looks like before we even start. It's kind of up to you if you want to start this way. I just like it because if I haven't spent any time, I can have ChatGPT predict, and it is also like trained on the entire internet, so it might know a thing or two. It is prone to hallucination, but it just kind of helps you get an idea of some of the questions you might be trying to answer as well. So, group behaviors, educational, supportive, social bonding. I think educational is a big one. Like, tons of people asking questions in subreddits I've been in for that kind of stuff, and they do tend to answer the questions with a lot of serious thought behind them. And personas, persona crafting, that's a good one too. So, John, a 30-year-old professional interested in therapeutic aspects, to learn about safe usage and share experiences, seeking mental health benefits, community belonging, legal concerns, lack of local community. So that's like an inhibiting factor. Um, and yeah, so I guess we can also kind of like go through each of these and just I can explain a little bit more why we're doing that, right? Like the demographic is to kind of understand who you're trying to sell to with a product that you're trying to sell to. And again, this is like understanding the people first, not trying to fit a square product into a circle hole, so to speak. So don't try to like refactor some idea you have, or you need to just come up with something new based on this information. The interests, that's also just good to kind of know like what are these people interested in anyways. Maybe there's something that is kind of like tangential to psychedelics that is not necessarily the psychedelic experience itself that people are all interested in, like maybe philosophy, like maybe it's like a an ebook on philosophy for the psychedelic minded people or something like that, for example. Then behavior and habits, it's just kind of good to see like okay, like what are these people doing on a day-to-day basis, because if you can find a product that fits into their behavior, it's much stickier than trying to change their behavior. So we're always trying to like first looking to add on to an existing behavior versus trying to change a behavior. And that actually a good example to kind of call back to is Dewey, because I was already bookmarking stuff on X, so it simply just added on to that behavior and made it a better experience for me. And that's why I like it, because it doesn't disrupt my day to day as much. It's just one more thing that I can do on top of that if I want to. And the personas are great because it just is good to start crafting these to kind of solidify what your customer might look like. Because if you're just keeping it all in your head, it's kind of hard to figure out who you're building for or servicing. But yeah, so I would do that. But if I am going into the subreddit, so if I go on the subreddit, I'll just do this last thing and then we'll kind of wrap up the video. So what I'll usually do first is, again, look at the rules, make sure I'm not doing anything against the rules. And then I usually like to go to top posts, and I'll start from, honestly, like I'll just start from a year to see like what's kind of hot. Okay, so chocolate, depression be gone. So even this, like, I know it's like tongue in cheek, but like that is a real, like, he's expressing how it's helping depression just in a comical way. This is kind of like the attitude towards mushrooms. Like, not many other species eat it, but we're just eating it, and we're actually getting a ton of benefit. So I think there's a lot of positivity towards it. Um, People are growing their own mushrooms, so that's also something that's a behavior, right? Like, is there anything around the growth process of mushrooms that we could help with? Um, Maybe it's like a little kit that you make for growing mushrooms. And yeah, so I'll go to the top ones. Maybe we'll start from like this month too, just to see what's kind of top of mind this month. Um, But yeah, it really just comes down to spending time in the community and starting to ask your own questions. And that can even be just like me saying like, "Hey, I'm new here. I'm looking to learn about magic mushrooms and like what are y'all's like recommendations?" Because then you can also understand like where are you guys getting your information from? Start to pull at that thread, like where are these people coming from in the first place? And then you might be able to draw some connections between the information that they're consuming and where they are now. Um, but yeah, that is really much, or that's pretty much like my process for this is just immersing myself in the community. Um, and so if you want to do the same, I suggest that you just hit a join button like I just did, and then you start exploring and answer those questions for community validation over here, like the thought patterns, the activities, and think about like the constraints is another good one too. Like, what is holding people back from some problem they have? Like, why aren't they fixing this themselves? Is there like a friction point that I can make easier, so to speak? Um, yeah, so that's pretty much like all I wanted to talk about with community validation. Again, this will be in the guide, and I will wrap up the video right now. And that's the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, I just wanted to share some of the tools that I'm using to explore niche communities on the internet, explore trends, because I think it's really important that creators, solopreneurs, people trying to make money on the internet to earn financial freedom have these tools. And I guess the last thing I'll leave with is this concept of community synthesis, which is something I'm kind of thinking of as like and maybe if you're watching, you probably do this already, but just drawing connections between disparate communities to find some intersecting community. And so, for example, and I use this example in the resource is like if you only looked at people that were into finance on Twitter, and then you only looked at people that were into technology and hardware on Twitter, you'd maybe see like there's tech enthusiasts, and then there's money Twitter, but then there's also this thing at the intersection of that, which is like finance and tech, which is tech Twitter, Silicon Valley type stuff. And so finding like common interests from different communities. And if you can do that, you can actually start to conceptualize new types of communities that maybe aren't as explicit, but are still just as strong or as valuable. So that's the last thing I'll leave it on. And yeah, I hope you guys liked it. Wanted to get a video out this week because there were none last week, and want to make sure I'm giving value as frequently as I can, but still trying to keep the quality and the value high enough that it's worth watching. So if you like the video, consider subscribing, hit the like button, drop a comment if any of this stuff was helpful. If you have any other tools that you use, let me know. And until next time, much love and peace, y'all.